Today we have a young skateboarding goblin getting bullied by his brothers, as well as the DM, aka the world. Let's throw a twig onto the fire. So I'm in a party of 4 just starting out. I used to DM a game for this group, so I'm used to being the one running a pretty standard game. Our game was a great combo of a homebrew world where my party did a lot of jokes, but also kept to the story, and we all played well together. One of my players wanted to DM a game for a one-off campaign that's just for laughs. Obviously, as a DM, I'm eager to play whenever I can, so I joined the game. We are all goblins, all riding skateboards, looking for our adoptive father's murderer. It's been mostly goofs, skateboard tricks, etc. All fun, right? Well, not till last night. I play the youngest sibling of the goblins, and apparently one of my group members thinks that means they can treat me like absolute garbage. So we were in the shop stocking up on weapons and supplies. One of our party members, a barbarian, spent a good amount of time talking about attuning their skateboard to be their martial weapon, and our DM let it fly. Took time to describe it, etc. We get to my turn, and I'm playing a sorcerer. Our DM mentions a bucket of bargain magic scrolls, one of which summons a giant crab. He tells me this as the DM, not the shopkeeper. I say that I'm leaning towards the giant crab scroll, but I like to check out the other scrolls before I make my purchase. DM makes me make an Arcana check on the other scrolls. I learn what they are, and before I can make my purchase, Barbarian says, "I heard giant crab, so I go and take the scroll from my little brother Goblin." They then say that they pay for it and pocket it so I cannot find it. Now I'm floored that they did this, and I start to say, wait, did the shopkeeper even say anything about the scrolls? I just thought I was looking at them.
Yeah, I think the little guy was just looking. Well, I was just walking by, and take it.
Wait, your character doesn't even know how to read.
That is true. I'll say the scroll had an image of a giant crab on it.
Okay, but...
Great. I see the crab and take it before anyone can do anything.
Now at this point, I'm real annoyed, but I think, well, okay, this is a goof campaign, and maybe it was just some kind of misunderstanding. But then we hit combat later in the game. We're all fighting a lich big bad, and our rogue shoots him with an arrow. 16 hits, and he does massive damage. My turn. I use a sorcery point to cast my spell with a farther distance, and I cast Firebolt. 16 to hit.
Actually, yours doesn't hit.
But my 16 hit earlier, and my 15 spell hit too.
Well, this one doesn't. Sorry, little guy.
I wait a whole round of combat again till it's my turn. Everyone continues to wail on the big bad, and every time it's Big Bad's turn, or his second turn, he spends it attacking me, way outside of combat, and who has dealt no damage at this point. It's my turn again, and I have 2 hit points, but I finally catch up to my party. I spent the last of my sorcery points to cast Jump as a bonus action on my party member, and enlarge while they are in the shape of a spider. The table's feeling it. It was cool. And then my DM chimes in.
Well, you're gonna have to roll for wild magic.
Okay, I'm new to playing sorcerer. Sorry, I forgot. I roll a 2, safe from the wild magic table. I ask though, so I'm not sure how this works. Is it 1 roll per turn or per spell? I'll roll both, but I'm gonna check to be safe. Second roll is a 1. Of course, but I look at the PHB. Oh, it only says once per turn.
Yeah, well, I kinda like the chaos for your character, so it's gonna be every spell. So not only does your enlarge not work, but you start shooting grease everywhere. Your spider friend can get out of it, but you're stuck. That's your turn.
Eventually, because of more wild magic hijinks not cast from me, but from a magic bean, my character gets knocked unconscious. This is the second time that my character has almost died out of combat for reasons completely out of my control. The previous time, my DM forced me to roll on the magic table almost 100 times until I rolled a 1. Then they hit me with a fireball as a level 1 character. I got brought back, but I had literally no choice in the matter about rolling all those magic checks. Again, a goofy joke of the campaign, but it still felt a little off to me. The party goes on to slay the Lich, and we learned it was all a test from our former caretaker and that him and the Lich were friends, and he asked the Lich to toughen us up, and to make sure that the little goblin really toughens up. Okay, fine, you were testing us, but I'm a level 4 sorcerer, and everyone else is level 4. I'm not any weaker than the rest of the party, and focusing on me during combat isn't gonna toughen me up in any way. It's just gonna make me not want to play. I chose to roleplay the younger goblin sibling, but I never thought it would make it all the way into all aspects of the game, including how I'm allowed to buy gear, cast spells, etc. So at this point, I pretty much committed to quitting this game. But I'm not gonna abandon these people as friends. I'm mature enough to know when to step away from a game that just isn't a fit for me. I'd still even DM for all these folks in a heartbeat, cause I know how they like to play and how I can shape that world. But this was a horror story if I've ever experienced one. So here are some possible explanations. Maybe someone had a grudge against OP when he was the DM. People are known to hold grudges for long periods of time, and maybe they think of this as payback. It could also maybe just be a regular power trip. In a sense, when the DM becomes a player, it's like a god has become mortal, and so you can actually mess with them for once. Or perhaps they just think older brothers always pick on the youngest for some reason. What do you think is the reason for all of this? Well, be sure to jot your comments down below as we jump into the next one. For this next story, we have a control freak who is absolutely enchanting. Let's suggest that the log goes into the fire. This was a 3.5 edition game that happened about 16 years ago. The group consisted of the DM, my human fighter, a human rogue, a druid, and a half-elf enchantment wizard. Character creation went okay until the player of the enchantment wizard, Mary, said that she wanted to use her magic to control the party's actions if the party decided to do anything that she didn't like. This immediately threw up red flags for all of us, and we inquired about it. Mary said that we don't need to worry, as long as we do stuff she likes, we'll be okay. At this time, the DM rules that characters don't realize that they are being controlled, so the only way we can retaliate is if we metagame. The game starts pretty normal, inquiring about a nearby dungeon that's filled with monsters and threatening the town. The wizard doesn't care about any of that. She's going around the town using magic to get free money from the peasants. My fighter, who happens to be lawful good, sees her taking advantage of people and tries to stop her. The wizard uses suggestion to convince my fighter that what she's doing is completely acceptable, and the session ends there. Session 2 opens up with the wizard going into a magic shop and sees that the shop has bracers of armor for sale. The wizard casts suggestion on the shopkeeper to get him to give her the bracers for free, but the shopkeeper makes a save and says no. The wizard then shoves the shopkeeper aside, grabs the bracers, and runs. The shopkeeper runs out of the shop and yells, "Stop, thief!" Nearby guards respond and give chase. The wizard runs up to my fighter and casts suggestion on my fighter, saying, "Those guards want to kill me. Stop them." So the DM had me fight and kill the guards. After the fight, the wizard cast suggestion on the druid saying that my fighter doesn't need healing. Druid player is frustrated but goes along with it. At this point, the rogue rejoins the party saying that he found out the location of the dungeon after talking to someone. The wizard casts suggestion on the rogue and tells them to go kill the person that they talked to. Rogue's player says that their character wouldn't do that. DM says that they have to. Frustrated, rogue player does it. Session ends with us asking Mary to stop controlling our characters. She responds with, "It's what my character would do." And the DM says,
"I'll allow it."
Session ends there. After the session, myself, Druid, and Rogue all met privately and talked about it. We agreed that there were a lot of red flags, but Mary was a friend, so we decided to give it one more session. We start session 3 in the first room of the dungeon. The Rogue says that they're going to look for traps. The wizard casts suggestion and says, "You don't need to look for traps." Rogue's player protested, but DM allowed it. Wizard then casts suggestion again and tells my fighter to walk down the dungeon corridor that leads out of the entrance room. I protest this, but DM allows it. DM also ruled that because of the way the suggestion is ruled, that I don't get to watch for traps. So my fighter walks down the dungeon corridor, triggering the traps and taking enough damage to drop to negative hit points. The druid player says that they're going to run up and heal my fighter. The wizard casts suggestion and says that my fighter doesn't need healing. So myself, Rogue, and Druid sit in horror as the DM describes the pool of blood forming around my fighter and how his chest slowly stops rising. Mary says, "This is fun. I should control the party more often." Myself, Rogue, and Druid packed up our stuff and left. DM and Mary couldn't understand why we were leaving, saying that it was just a game. I said, "Yes, it's a game, which are supposed to be fun. We aren't having fun, so we are leaving." And I never played with the wizard or druid ever again. They were roommates, and the wizard convinced druid that I was at fault, not her. Well, that was a fun ending. Mary is as manipulative in-game as she is in real life. It's very sad when your friends take advantage of you, no matter if it's a game or not. I'm just surprised that the DM went along with whatever Mary said. One has to remember that suggestion is not mind control, but some DMs never get the memo. No D&D is still better than bad D&D, even with friends. Moving on, we have some comments to look at. Some viewers actually read the messages in the last video. Congratulations, and welcome to the Horde Board. Let's see if anyone else will see the message in this video to be able to join the Horde Board next week. Comment of the week goes to Satyr Ghost, who wrote, "Turns out the real headache was the best friends we lost along the way." I couldn't have said it better myself. This week's Dragon Voice line comes from another RPG horror story YouTuber, Crow's Perch.
"Foul adventurers, I shall add your corpses to my horde of cringe."
Be sure to check out Crow's content. Today's lovely fan art comes from the rpgtales subreddit from the Bitter on Twitter with the capital L. Thank you so much for the support, and be sure to post more content on the subreddit or interact with other fans in the Discord. And before you go, what do you all think about these situations overall?